Welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Yo, yo, yo!
Hello. Whoa, what entrance! I mean, I feel that's quite appropriate for this kind of episode, so...
Yeah, no, just
cringe.
It is cringe. Like, yeah, it was cringe.
It was so much cringe. I think I was saying before we started recording, that I couldn't get past it, so I couldn't really enjoy this episode. I think I just need to now that I remember how bad the first basically the opener is.
Yeah.
I think I just need to skip that and just watch it from there, because it really is just awful.
And also the episode's not about that, you know?
Not at all. It's it's actually a decent vampire episode,
yeah.
But why? Why?
They just wanted to rag on Twilight because, you know, it's for girls and they're bad, yeah. You know. Hey.
True. Yeah, true. It was also really gay. This episode was really, really gay.
It was super gay. I forgot. I mean, I don't know if the whole vampire thing, I guess generally.
I mean, yeah, it's very camp, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
It's all very camp. But so they leaned into it. It was just unusual for Supernatural, I feel.
So I guess we are talking about season 6, episode 5, Live Free or Twihard. And it's written by Brett Matthews, which is another new writer for season 6. Mm-hmm. And directed by Rod Hardy. I don't know if we've had a Rod Hardy episode before. I didn't check.
His name is so American. Rod Hardy. Right. We could have seen him before. I don't think so, though.
No, he actually only directs this episode, and that's it.
Oh.
But yeah. I don't know. Very camp. And I think because of the goth leaning bar and stuff like that, I think there's part of that kind of, I don't know.
Actually, I agree with you. The goth thing. I need to talk about the goth thing. I don't know if I bring it up now or later. I'll bring it up now. Because I know both me and you leaned heavily into goth in our earlier years and somewhat now, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I can't help but be just a bit offended when shows like this try to do goth. And I also wonder if that was some of the backlash of Twilight. This is me just thinking out loud now. Mm-hmm. From some of the goth girlies that were the vampires are our things, and you're all this
weird about it.
Yeah. And this is my 2005. I was a teenager. Had why are preppy girls into vampires now?
Right. It's we've had Lestat, we've had Dracula, we've had Nostradamus, all these years, and now you're coming in with your Edward and your whatever and the Cullens. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm gonna stick with Anne Rice. I got too enthusiastic. I knocked my own mic stand, mic arm.
You don't understand the finger gesticulations were so good. But I think that was part of it, and then I feel that was present in this episode. There's a moment, and I'll bring it up again when we get to it, where they go into her room when the girls has been abducted, and it's super goth. But this girl was not. She was not. She was not. I agree with you. When I saw the room, I was I could imagine myself having that room now. Mm-hmm. The aesthetic on point. Mm-hmm. But her, she was basically, well, I mean, it's funny because the character names are Kirsten and Robert. Mm-hmm. Ha ha ha. So but she's dressed like Bella from Twilight. Yes, of course.
With the flannel and the tank cami shirt underneath and all that kind of stuff. And it's just
unless unless she was a goth, but they were role-playing, so she bought some flannel.
Oh, that's actually not a bad point. That's not a bad point to make.
Yeah.
But why would you, though? Why would you roleplay as these this couple and this vampire?
I feel like we're allowed to be judgy about the goth girl. I feel like having been actually, in the scene, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think
so too.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I'm not judgy on a lot. I'm allowed to be judgy on this. Screw it. You can keep as much as you want. People judged us so hard when we were teenagers. We got so much crap that I feel like in my 30s I'm allowed to be like, no, you're not allowed to co-opt that. that was my struggle. The eyeliner, it was my struggle.
I agree. I 100% agree with you on everything because you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
We are allowed to judge because we were judged too harshly.
Too harshly.
Especially growing up in England where the subculture originated.
Right.
So it's just like, what? What do you mean?
It's not that weird. It's not that weird to see a goth. I see goths every now and then. I'm like, yeah, it's cool to see goths,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. I love to see it. So yeah, it was just getting past that cringe was really hard. Yeah. And then but there were some really good points made in this episode, and Sam in this episode. Ooh.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
There were moments in it that I actually wrote down a question that actually basically got answered later on in the episode. There were quite a few of those actually that came up. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I thought Benny was in this episode because I swear he was part of the group of vampires who stopped eating humans. Remember that episode?
No, so he was in that episode, but he wasn't a vamp. Was he a vampire? He was a barman.
He was a vampire.
But he was a vampire. A vampire barman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I also mentioned Benny in my notes for this episode. How strange. I wonder why.
Yeah, I do wonder. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to say about it before we jump into it?
No, we did a lot of spiel at the beginning. Let's get into it because I've got more to say.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So we have the recap, and it starts off with Gordon. I was actually really surprised it would start off with Gordon, but it does make sense because it was a hunter turned into a vampire.
Yes.
Which brought to mind that I'm really sad that we didn't see Gordon in Purgatory. I think that would have been really interesting to see, especially if we saw Dean and Benny together.
Yeah.
Because Gordon was in that episode as well. And just basically an endless fight in Purgatory sounds really funny to me, or really tragic. I don't know which one really, but
it can be both. Why not both?
And it really is a lot of that episode with it's not Cornelia, but I can't remember what her name was from Buffy, the blonde girl from Buffy.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yes.
She gets turned into a vampire, and she's talking about how it's affecting her in this kind of way, and that you learn that in supernatural world, the only way you get turned into a vampire is by drinking blood, not being fed on.
Yeah.
We also have a little bit of season 6 with Sam and Dean talking about Sam hunting with others and being introduced to Samuel Campbell. We get a little bit of Lisa and Ben and Dean leaving them. We also have the end of the last episode, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Where it was the episode 3 where Dean is asking Sam if he's okay, and then we have a little bit again of Dean calling Bobby before Bobby blows up at him, talking about how much Dean is concerned about Sam.
Yes, it's all about Sam all of the time.
All the time. It starts off in this bar called the Black Rose. I kind of hate that a goth bar is called the Black Rose. Come on, it could have been a better name than that.
Yeah. I mean,
the goth night that we used to go to in our hometown was called Discord. That sounds way better. Come on, The Black Rose.
Yeah. It's so weird to me now that there's a chat platform called that, because I still, sometimes my brain still goes like, wait.
Yeah, me too. And there's this like young woman who's clearly she's definitely not, doesn't fit into this crowd.
Yeah.
And she shows the bartender her ID, but it's a completely different woman. It's like an Asian looking woman.
And her name is Emily Fang.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. And then it zooms out and you see this girl, and she's obviously not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And then a man approaches her, and they have this very, very cringy conversation, which I'm not going to go through because it's really bad. But it does feel like a direct script from Twilight, with like Edward going away and coming back and going away. No. Yes.
They did do
very angsty, very cringy. I hate it all.
It was like, I do feel like they did a really good job on the casting. Like the guy who plays Robert in this, I say, he does look enough like Edward with the like broody face. I think it was it was good casting. I'll give them that.
And same with the girl who's Kirsten.
Yeah, like
she does look very, very similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
And then it cuts to like another day, and she's back at like a booth, and Robert comes back and he's like, I couldn't stay away. Let me show you my world. I'm surprised nobody quoted A Whole New World, but that's just me. And they go like outside, and she's all excited, but they're like in this sort of disgusting alleyway, and she's like, why does it smell like pee?
Yeah.
I love it. She says, edgy, so your place, is it gonna be velvet? I'm like,
my dude.
No. That's so unhygienic. If you're really a vampire and you do have velvet, how disgusting is that? I don't know how you clean velvet. I'm pretty sure it's not that easy because of like no.
So this is telling on myself. I had a black velvet jacket when I was about 15. I never once washed that thing. And so like I don't even know what happened to it. I kind of wish I still had it, because I probably would have cleaned it by now, but like, and I wore that a lot to a lot of sticky bars. I didn't know how to wash it, so I just never did. There we go. Disgusting teenagers.
And that's the funny thing is, I had a like vampire velvet dress that I wore too often, and also didn't wash it.
Yes. I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Because so in my case, I still had like a label on it, which I could have just read and like seen how to wash it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, when you're like 14, 15 years old, you're not thinking about laundry. Like,
no, I did not think about laundry. I think I bought mine from like some vintage shop, so it had nothing left in it. Like, I think. Oh, aside, I think I gave that jacket to someone.
Hopefully they washed it then.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But like, yeah. And you didn't have access to the internet so easily, so you wouldn't be able just to like Google how do you, and like, you're not going to Google that. Like, yeah, anyway. But, so the magic gets dispelled very quickly because she says it smells like pee, and then like this I don't even know how you describe what he looks. He kind of looks like Jonathan Davis if he didn't have dreads, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah okay.
Like that kind of look. He looks like he should be in some sort of metal band, like the bassist of a metal band, because of the hair. I think that's, anyway. I don't know why that imagery comes to mind, but there you go. She gets really scared, obviously, because this like other dude just shows up. Like, it's like your worst nightmare, basically.
Well,
like, You met someone online,
Mm-hmm.
they take you to an alleyway and somebody else jumps you.
Yeah.
That is the dangers of meeting people online.
Yeah.
So still don't do it these days, especially if you're underage. It was actually during some of this scene that I completely forgot, like, you have to be 21 to drink in this country. I was like, why is she concerned if she's like 17? Like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal, but of course it's 21.
Oh, yeah, so like, yeah, she would never have got served, that's true. I was like, yeah, well, that's why she even got a fake. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's like, beyond the terrible joke that they wanted to make, apparently.
Yeah, the whole, fang thing.
Yeah. And then she gets like, she tries to run away but gets captured by Robert, who then has his like actual vampire teeth, which are not cute and sexy, but they're scary and pointy.
Yeah. I think the teeth for vampires in Supernatural look like something that you would find at the bottom of the ocean. You know?
Yes.
Bitey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the anglerfish.
Yes, an anglerfish. Exactly. Maybe that makes sense because, like, in this context, you know, the anglerfish, like, this Robert guy is all like the pretty lure, right? And then you get the big teeth.
And she screams, and the glass shatter title card, which I actually paid attention a bit more this time.
Yeah.
And if you look very carefully, the A kind of sparks as a pentagram for like a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. I like that little detail.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not a fan of this one.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, I agree with what we said last week, really. It's like, yeah, it's a title card.
Yeah.
One thing I have to bring up, because, like, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't do it, is the music as they enter the vampire / goth bar is Bauhaus's Bela Lugosi's Dead. Like, I've mentioned this song so many freaking times. Of course, I can't say his name very well. Bela Lugosi is obviously Dracula from the, I don't know, was it like 1950s, 1940s? I don't even know how old that movie is.
It'll be probably, it's black and white, right?
Yeah. I'm going to say 50s.
It might be older.
It might be older than that. I'm looking at him now from that thing, like his eyes and my room. But yeah, so that's that. That song is an epic song. Love that song so much. It is literally like if you're a goth kid in your teens, like walking around listening to that, like, yeah, I'm just so edgy.
So edgy, man.
Yeah.
I will say the whole episode is actually, the soundtrack for it has that kind of 80s goth feel to it. Like, it does feel like maybe the Smiths or the Morrisons might have like had a hand in some of it.
Yeah.
Especially at the very end. That's when I noticed it. I was like, oh, it doesn't have that like preppiness that sometimes Supernatural episodes soundtrack does.
It's sort of like, it's like I don't know, it's like a gothy bass line. Yeah. I love it. I love me a bit of Bauhaus. And as soon as it came in, I was like, that is a good choice this episode. Like, it's perfect.
Yes.
It would be playing in this bar, and it's also thematically perfect. Like, whoever chose that music, like, yes, bang on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But also ironic, because I feel like, and again, this is me being judgy and gatekeepery, I don't feel like a lot of people who were into Twilight would necessarily listen to Bauhaus vampire music.
Probably not. But the thing is, the people that were in that bar
Would be.
I would say the majority of them were in the subculture for sure. Not all of them. There were a couple of like extreme spiked collars that I was like, oh yeah, he got that from Hot Topic for sure.
Okay, but remember this is from 2010. The spiked collars were in. Still,
No, they were earlier than that.
They were
earlier than
I ditched my mother.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's when we were like almost finishing university.
That's
like,
true. Yeah. Oh, goth days. I miss you.
The funny thing is, I can go into my closet and like pull out stuff that will make me instantly look like I did at 13.
I don't know what happened to all my stuff, man. Like, I don't know where it is. Like, what happened to, like...
Oh, I rebought all of mine. Yeah. I was like, I have money now. Like, I have money. I have no one to tell me what to do. I'm gonna rebuy everything. Not everything, but a lot of the stuff.
So good. Yeah.
So much fishnet. So much fishnet.
Man, yeah, I do miss it sometimes. But, you know, makeup skills did come with it, so that was good. So, right, yeah, back into this episode. Stop reminiscing. We see Dean, and he's super happy talking on the phone to Lisa. They're, like, organising, like, a little hookup. Because, yeah, he's thinking, like, he's going to get, like, off work for a few days or whatever. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to come see you, and it's going to be really nice. But he does, like, add in some things like, you know, well, you know, I'll have to make sure I'm, like, not followed. I have to take the side streets. I have to come at night. And, like, I think he's trying to, like, I don't think he's fully serious, but also, like, his face is serious enough. But I think he's trying to be like, oh, yeah, it's, like, a bit sexy. I don't know. Lisa's into it anyway. She's like, yeah,
she is, yeah.
It's all good. So yeah, obviously she leaves off the phone call with like, be careful, you know, call us when you're nearly here. When Dean hangs up, Sam approaches and Sam asks like, what's he so happy about? And he's like, nothing. I notice, I think it's because Dean doesn't fully trust Sam at this point, is that he doesn't really talk about Lisa a lot to him.
Yeah, I think so.
Whereas maybe otherwise he would have. I don't know. But Sam's got a case. He's got some missing girls, 6 girls in 7 days, which is a lot. He says more disappearances than the city's seen in over a year, which I was like, what city is this? This sounds like a bad city. With like 6 people are going missing. I don't know. It seemed like a lot. I don't know if it's a lot. I guess it's probably not a lot for a big city.
More.
Okay, fine.
So what say that again one more time?
Because he said 6 girls in 7 days, which is more disappearances than the city has seen in over a year. Like, implying that a year ago they were seeing just as many disappearances.
So I took it as, like, in 1 year they don't get 6.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. I don't know, it's just, maybe it's whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, it's out of the usual to have this many people go missing so quickly.
Yeah, which is like
they might get 6 in a year,
yeah,
but not 6 in a week.
It's just the way he said it. I was like, why did 6 people go missing last year? Like, that's the way I feel like that's the way he said it. But fine. And like, there's an undercurrent of kind of creepiness to get like with Dean in this episode about like finding the missing girls cute when they're all under 18, I feel, or under 21. It's like, my dude, you're in your 30s. Just stop, man.
Also, you just got off the phone with your girlfriend who you're about to go see. You're very of age, very attractive already.
Right.
Like, girlfriend.
Yeah.
No.
He says something like, oh yeah, that's the line. Hey, ice cream comes in lots of flavours. Ick. I hated that. What does that mean?
Like, what does that mean? Like, the thing is, had he not said that, like, there is a level of non-creepiness of calling younger people cute.
Yes, you're right.
There is a little bit of that. But it's still very weird because of how Dean has been characterized, where he has made these kind of comments about underage girls before. So I don't think he could ever get away with calling them cute. No,
just stop being weird about it, man. Like, honestly, like the whole high school cheerleader thing, you were in your 30s, leave it alone. Or like, yeah, I don't know. I wish it's just stop writing him like that as well, because it just gives me the ick.
Yes. Convention question. Why? Yeah, why? Just straight up, why? And like, why did he not push back on it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So, yeah, they've got a lot to look into. They've got one more call that came in today, so I'm guessing it's number 7, the girl that we saw in the prelude. So they drive up to Kristen's house and speak to her dad, and he's a bit like resigned. He's like, you know, she's a good kid, a little naive, sure, you try to be a good parent, but girls are hard. And they kind of like, what does that mean? And then they go up.
So
yeah, go on.
It's another Twilight thing.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure that, yeah, it's another, because it's a single dad, like not as, it's a separated parents
yeah, you're
who
right.
look after Bella.
Mm-hmm.
So the dad is in Washington
Mm-hmm.
state, and he probably says a line exactly like this, because he's he's a bizarre parent.
He makes choices, parental choices.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. I think this is part of the problem, is that we're not going to get, I'm not going to get all the Twilight references in this episode, because I've not read or watched Twilight. I only know about it through internet osmosis. Like, yeah.
I've watched them all, so they're stuck in my brain.
But I have watched YouTube essays about it, so I don't know what that says about me, but that's how I know about Twilight. So, yeah, they go up to her room, and as we kind of previously discussed, it is like full goth. It is velvet, right? It's like black, red, there are skull candles. It's great.
Mm-hmm. It is. I
saw some skull candles today, and I was like, oh, I kind of want some. And they were like pastel pink and blue and yellow and stuff. I was like, I love some little bit of pastel goth now. Yeah. I didn't buy any though. I really wish I had done now. So they see that the walls of her room are covered in Twilight stuff. And in this universe, like, Robert Pattinson still plays Edward, because they mentioned his name like several times. But they don't, but not directly, because I don't think they're allowed to.
Probably not. But for some reason they can say Jacob's name, whatever, Taylor Lautner.
Did he not do some work for the CW or something?
Oh, you know what? He probably did. Yeah, he could be a CW actor. I could see that.
I could see it too. I don't know if that's true though. It just feels true. Yeah. So they did kind of like think that it might have been drugs walking up, but they kind of dismiss that as soon as they see all like the goth stuff. Sam's just like,
vampires. These are vampires, man. These are douchebags. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Dean doesn't have a leg to stand on here about them being like douchebags.
Not over that cute comment.
No. Also,
or the ice cream comment, rather.
Exactly. 100% in the universe, Dean has watched and read Twilight. But there's no way that he hasn't, with the knowledge that he has here, I feel.
So I'm not sure if it's Twilight, because I think the book that she's reading is called My Summer Blood.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So maybe in this universe, Pattinson is that actor on the back of the door.
Yes, fine, yeah.
Who plays the whatever. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that Dean has either read or watched My Summer Blood. Most likely, I guess, watched. He's very much like a film guy. But who knows? Like, they go to a lot of like motels and rest stops where they like pick up crappy paperbacks. So, you know.
True.
So yeah, they kind of look around and everything. Sam finds this laptop which has like a load of stickers on it and stuff. And what was this? Like, he opens it and there's like a picture of the vampire dude from this universe's Twilight, and it makes like a meh sound.
I know.
Dean also says, like, what's he bummed about? 'Cause making like a brooding face. Like, they aren't the most broodiest brooders that ever like brooded.
I mean, Sam's literally doing that as he's trying to type in these passwords. He's got the exact same face.
I think this is part of the charm of this episode. It's like they are poking fun at themselves with this. Like, surely they must know, right?
Yeah, they must.
It's almost like a bit fall breaky. Sam is doing the best hacking you've ever seen in your whole life. Like, he types Dracula into the password.
Like, again, what about this girl indicates that she's into that kind of vampire, right?
I guess he's just going off at, like, he thought vampire. What vampire do I know? It's a Dracula.
True.
So they try Dean suggests trying Lautner. And Sam's like, how do you even know this? He's like, well, he's everywhere. All right, yeah, sure, Dean.
What I think's really funny, though, is like, Sam's the one who said, wait, isn't he a werewolf? It's like, well, why are you questioning Dean's knowledge when you know just as much?
They know. They have, like, maybe they watched it together and just never talked about it again, you know?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And then, yeah, Sam makes a joke, like, how many T's are there in patties? And then, like, gets cut off because that unlocks the laptop. He opens this page, which looks like MySpace. I think it looks like MySpace.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
Okay, 100%. In 2000, I feel like if you were a goth around about 2005 to 2010, which is when this is, like, yes, MySpace was a bit more emo, but most of the goth people I knew used Dead Journal.
Dead Journal or Vampire Freaks.
Yes. Oh, yeah, Vampire Freaks. I forgot about that place.
I thought that's where you were going with it, and I was like, yeah, that's the one I... No, I didn't use that. No, I never used that one. No. I'm talking about... Actually, I don't even know what my username is, actually, so it doesn't matter.
Do I remember my Dead Journal username? I'm not going to say it here, but do I remember it? I'm going to have to look it up. I'd have to look on, like, the Wayback Machine, I think. But for those of you who didn't know, because, like, I guess it was an in-group, Dead Journal was just reskinned Live Journal to make it look more goth, and it was invite only.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you had to know someone who had a Dead Journal to get one, and it was like gold dust in our friend groups.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the little, like, emojis were skulls. Like, that's how goth it is.
God, that needs to come back.
Yeah. Oh. So, yeah, she's been conversing with a real vampire or some guy claiming to be a vampire on this, not MySpace. And Dean immediately goes, well, he's probably just human. And Sam goes, like, he could be, but also, like, this is quite easy prey, right? They just pretend to be vampires pretending to be vampires to prey on people. So they go through, they find out that he was going to meet her at the Black Rose. And again, like Dean reiterates.
This is probably just your standard issue perv, right?
So yeah, they're going to go investigate. We then get a cut to like a van driving, and it gets like jumped by like a bunch of like other cars like driving in front of it or whatever. They all pile out and like kill the driver and steal whatever he has. And then it zooms along the van to show that it was a blood donor transport. So they've stolen all the blood. And like, yeah, it was vampires. Like, who else is it going to be?
Well, yeah. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, we've kind of seen some vampires already take this route with... it was Tara from Buffy. I don't remember what her name was in the episode that she was in, but they were like friendly vampires. Like they didn't actually eat humans.
Her name was Lenore. I don't know why I remember that, but that was her name. Yeah.
A fan of Edgar Allan Poe, I see.
Exactly. I actually am a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe. Again,
maybe that's why
I was a goth kid. I read all of Edgar Allan Poe thinking I was cool. Didn't understand any of it.
I know. I kind of want to go back and read it just because, like, now that I have life experience, it's just like, oh, can I actually get what he's talking about now?
If the Netflix series The Fall of the House of Usher, which is an Edgar Allan Poe story, it makes it much more interesting because it references like all his other work, and I was like, I understand all of these references, which was a super cool moment for me. I was like, it was worth it. All those hours I spent reading Edgar Allan Poe for no reason.
You had your own cast moment of I understood that reference.
Yeah, exactly. I understood the reference.
So we cut to Sam, and he's on the phone with Samuel, and they are confirming that it's vampires, and that, you know, that it's obvious that they have a pattern. It's a pattern that they've seen before in a different town called Clincher. I did not hear Clincher when he said it. I heard something completely different, but I was like, no, what I heard was not correct. Anyway, because they're talking about the blood van the kids going missing and the blood bank van getting jumped. So Sam's wondering why they grab the kids if they have food.
If they already got a bunch of walking, talking juice bars, why bother with the bloodmobile? It doesn't add up.
Find the nest. Figure it out.
It feels very John Winchester-esque.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's just like an older hunter trope.
Just do the work.
Yeah, just like, just do it, man. Yeah.
Don't think about it, just do it. So then we cut to the interior of the Black Rose, and I hate the fact that Dean calls all these girls emo chicks, because they are not. They are clearly goth chicks.
And also, in what universe is Dean not into goth chicks? I'm sorry.
He is into goth chicks. He says something about someone wearing rubber to the beach, literally just later on. We know he's into latex. He's talked about being into latex before. So, no, Dean.
No.
No. You cannot back out of being into goth girls. Everybody's into goth girls. Even goth girls are into goth girls.
Exactly.
Like, no. Anyway, so I honestly, they profiled people so quickly in this. Like, Sam's just like looking around. He's like, yeah, it's probably that one because he's got the biggest collar on.
Surprisingly, like, not a status symbol, but okay. Like,
I mean, he's like, yeah, he's kind of all up in her neck, but like, they could just be really into each other, like, whatever. And then they point out two other people. So they're like, oh, great, there's three of them, but two of us. And then a guy arrives and like meets up with one of the other guys, and they start making out, and they're like, okay, it's actually only two of them. Yeah. I don't know why. Well, I guess because they have the pattern of taking a certain type of girl, so that makes sense of why they would get checked off. Never mind. But again, I had no clue why they had singled out these two people.
It didn't make sense to me. Like, again, maybe because like we're kind of maybe used to seeing people dressed like that. But if you're watching this at home and you're not used to seeing goths in real life, you're like, yeah, they must be the bad guys because they are dressed the weirdest. I don't know, like, that is basically what the episode is saying.
Maybe, but like, I don't know, the bartender had the weird, quote unquote, the weirdest hair. Like, it was half purple, half green. Yeah. Like, anyway, I didn't understand it either. I completely got lost. And then I was like, also, I didn't understand why they'd like profiled these people to be vampires. I didn't understand why the guys kissing automatically then excluded them from also being vampires. Like, I didn't get it. I don't know. It was weird. I wonder if it was the girls that they were looking at, actually not the vampire, not the men. So maybe the girls looked young enough and then the same sort of profile, but I didn't get that because it's not very clear, I guess. Yeah, I think it was badly written because I had the same issue with you that I was like, what is going on? I don't understand. And also, like, the fact that they were quite correct was weird, or at least Sam was. Exactly. But it got really weird. Well, not really weird. It got really gay really quick. It got really gay really quick. Because Sam, they go off to follow each of their assigned vampires. Yeah. And Sam's following one of them, and like he's going into like these back rooms, and you see this other guy who like kind of does a head nod at him, like, hey, I'm checking you out. Like this does feel like you're going into a bathroom to go hook up with a dude. 100%. Or in the back room to go hook up with a dude. So like other people around like understand what's going on right now. He gets to the back room and just decapitates the guy. Yeah. Straight. Like, he does reveal himself to be a vampire, so it's not completely out of the blue, but it is very like, chop.
And like, I don't know whether or not like Sam maybe would have waited for him to reveal himself as a vampire before beheading him. I feel like that's where we're at with Sam at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
would he have waited if he didn't go? Meh?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then Dean is following the other couple, and see, this is where it gets weird because the dude that Sam's following doesn't have a girl with him anymore.
So why
it's literally just the two of them.
Yeah, I didn't understand the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't get it either. I think anyway, yes, not getting it. And I suddenly have a flashback of that episode where Dean has to go, like, somebody's messed with him and he has to go to a bar and say a certain thing, and there's like a leather daddy in the room. Right,
yes. Yeah.
This whole bar situation looked exactly like that. Now that I'm thinking about it, looked exactly like that.
It did actually, yeah. It's maybe that just the thing that like the whole like it got super gay super quick is because I mean vampires inherently are queer, right? Like the writing of them. Yeah. But like they're not really written that way in Supernatural, I don't feel. And also not in Twilight. Everyone in Twilight is like the straightest you've ever been in your whole life. As far as I know. But so I wondered if that's maybe part of them being like, well, this is not like Twilight. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I would imagine that if you're around for centuries, surely gender no longer becomes a thing.
Well, yeah, I think that's the whole thing with like vampires. And I'm just wondering what the choices Supernatural made in this episode as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
So yeah, Dean's in the alley with who he refers to as Bieber, and the girl and the guy that are together, like getting hot and heavy, and Dean like pulls the boy off and is like tells the girl to like go away, and she runs off, and he tells him to open his mouth, and he reveals like these clearly fake vampire teeth, and he like pulls them out, and Dean gets grossed out, as you would, because they are kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you, 12?" And then like he's got glitter on his face, and he's like, "Are you wearing glitter?" And the boy's like, "Oh, I only did it to get laid." And again, I don't know why Dean says this, because he has a very attractive, very legal age girlfriend waiting for him.
Yeah. Does it work? I'll be damned.
Like, why do you need to know? You're not going to be hooking up with 17-year-olds. You shouldn't be hooking up with 17-year-olds.
I guess it's more like a disbelief, but it's also not, is it? The facial expressions, the choices that were made.
Yeah.
All right, umbop your way out of here. Go!
Which I thought was a great line.
That was a great line. I really want to use that on someone. I really want to. Like, I need a situation in which I can tell someone to umbop.
As Dean starts to walk away, he hears this voice in the like shadows that just says, "You're pretty," and like comes face to face with the vampire from earlier, and like Dean says, "Sorry, pal, I don't play for your team." Like, again, this is just very strange. Anyway, they start to fight, and his name's Boris. Boris gets one up on Dean, and eventually bites into his wrist and pours like blood onto his face. And as this is happening, or into his mouth, as this is happening, Sam has come up to the mouth of the alley and is just watching, and he like smirks while this is happening. Like, he knows that, you know, this could be of use, or not, it could be of use, but like, so the thing that made me question in this episode, again, this was actually good on Jared's part, that I didn't know if Sam knew that Dean could get cured.
Yeah, it was hard to tell until you knew.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, like, I was questioning, like, did he actually want Dean to die in this episode? Like, what?
I know, it was...
The smirk on his face was very, like, I'm getting kind of tired of your shit, Dean. This is a good opportunity for you to get done. You know,
it's tough, right? Because like you're so used to like trusting each other so much, and then like Sam's betraying that trust. Yeah, I like it was almost like he was happy to see someone get one up on Dean as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it's very, very, very strange. And then after like Dean has really consumed quite a bit of blood, Sam then goes into action mode and like chases off Boris into the distance.
But he like doesn't try very hard though, right?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
And then the way that Dean is like slumped over and just goes, Sammy.
Oh,
breaks my
it's
heart.
like he let this happen
Breaks
to
my
you.
heart.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess to be serious for a moment, like I feel like the vampire stuff in this episode particularly, like as it's been shown before, is very much like an assault, and this felt super visceral with Dean and Boris, right? Like Dean has been like violated by the
absolutely
100%, which makes what Sam did even worse, like standing by. And I feel like that,
and just watching it happen.
exactly, and that kind of violation I think follows Dean through the rest of this episode to the point they like obviously he eventually like gets his revenge, but it's it may like I feel like this is the turning point in the episode where it goes from like super quirky, like kind of taking the piss out of Twilight, to like actually quite a serious episode.
Yeah, and also kind of harkening back to the beginning of this episode with the girl getting like jumped by two vampires. Like it's also a fear for men in, you know, being in a dark alley and suddenly you hear someone say you're pretty and then you get assaulted. Like that's like it's a genuine fear for anybody and everybody, but definitely in a you know, in a man on man situation, it can't be easy, especially for someone like Dean, who's always managing to like somehow have super strength and like defeat all these monsters all the time, and then like have something truly devastating happen to you.
And like one of his fears as well, right? Because again, the Dean's biggest fear, and we've talked about this constantly, is like not being in control of himself. So this kind of forced turning into a vampire where he then doesn't have control over his impulses and actions is like one of the worst possible things that can happen to Dean.
The smirk in my mind also for a moment was like a like, haha, now you know how it feels to have to want to drink blood.
Yeah, it was good. We're right, it's good acting on Jared's part, 'cause it's so like ambiguous and so like, what are you thinking right now, Sam? Yeah.
And obviously we know what's happening. I kind of wish that I could go back to like neuralize myself basically and forget that Sam is soulless and like no one knows why he's acting so strangely, because it would have been really difficult to watch, I'm sure, because it is so unlike Sam to not actually fight for his brother in any kind of way.
Well, I do remember watching this episode the first time, and I do recall that like, oh crap moment of thinking like, wait, is Dean just like a vampire now? Like, what is gonna happen? Like it was weird, because I had a really good memory of this episode. This one like stuck with me, I feel, maybe for the reasons I talked about, but like yeah, I said that the first half is like pretty quirky, and then it's pretty like serious and edgy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also I think they did a clever thing in that there's quite a lot of comparison. I think that's maybe why they used it in the flashback. When Gordon got turned, there's quite a lot of comparison to how he was acting as to when Dean gets turned, like in the next scenes, like with the lights and the sounds and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm just grateful that like the same thing didn't happen to Dean, because obviously as we find out very shortly, it's like you have to feed your first time and you can't get changed back. But like Gordon was forced to feed. There was nothing he could do about it.
Yeah. They were actually very clever in how they kind of turned that around in this episode as well, because it didn't contradict with anything we'd seen previously for vampires. I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I didn't like it. No, I didn't like it. So we see then Dean and Sam in their motel room / hotel room. I think it's like a hotel. And Dean is freaking out. Like, all his senses are really heightened. Like, he's having like sensory overload from everything, like the lights. And he's going a bit like crazy, like hitting the walls and stuff, because he can hear people talking on the other side. Whereas like clearly Sam can't hear anybody else.
I never thought I'd be going out like this.
Dean, nobody is going out.
And he's like convinced that Samuel's going to kill him when he gets there. So clearly phoned him already and said what's happened to Dean. And when Sam's like, no, he's not going to kill you, Dean's like, well, if he doesn't, I'm going to. This is it, right? Like, I'm a vampire now. During all this time when Dean's like freaking out, Sam knows. Like, he knows. Like, how many hours? Yeah. Soulless Sam, you're the worst. The worst.
Yeah, he is. What I loved about this whole scene, so I really like the way that they used sound in this. And just like, it kind of goes from hearing really far out to slowly closer and closer into the room. Yeah. Like, he can hear a train, and then he can hear next door, then he hears the clock, and then then you hear this constant heartbeat sound, and then it links to, like, at first I thought he could hear his own heartbeat, but he's actually hearing Sam's this entire time, and it's steady. Just there's nothing. There's no like adrenaline spike of any kind, which is very, very unusual.
Yeah, it really is like quite clever. You're right, it's really good. And Dean does turn on him and say like,
why aren't you freaked out?
Of course I am.
Really? Because I can hear your heartbeat and it's pretty damn steady.
Sam like splutters and says like, well, that's just because I'm trying to stay calm, like it's so weird because as far as we know now, because we know that Sam is soulless, like all his mannerisms, I feel, and like the way he talks is all just an act, right? Because I feel like if he was actually being how he feels, he would just be very deadpan, like expressionless, right? So all of the mannerisms, all of the like pats onto Dean to like comfort him, whatever, it's all just like acting.
Yes, it's like, this is what I should be doing.
Yes,
so I better do it. Yeah.
And then Sam says like, how's it feel? And he's like, you want to talk about my feelings? He's like, no, how's it feel physically? And Dean's just like, well, how do you think it feels? Not good. And like goes into the bathroom to do the old Winchester wash. It's like, I'm looking at myself in the mirror because I'm turning into a monster. Like, he has a look like in his mouth as well, and you can see like his fangs are starting to come through as well. And then he makes some kind of decision, like you see it come in his eyes, kind of like sort of thing, and he turns on the water. And we cut back to Sam, and he just hears the water running, but like thinks about it twice. And when he goes into the bathroom, Dean is gone out the window. Yeah. So Dean goes to Lisa's house to be all Dracula.
The way he stood and the way that Lisa's dressed is exactly like the book cover he was just criticizing, which I thought was really funny, but like also it's really tragic as well. Obviously, this whole episode's funny but tragic.
It was so good. Like the way they framed it was absolute genius, and the fact that he's like aware of it too. Like, I'm being super creepy, but like can't seem to stop himself from being like a trope. Was great. So yeah, Lisa wakes up and sort of says like, why are you here? And he does the whole like, I can't be with you.
You get to be dramatic now too.
Yay! Because he can hear her like blood moving under her skin and stuff, like, and her heart beating. And yeah, like he does like the jaw clench and he's like, oh God, I'm Pattinson. They do say his name, fine. I thought they shied away from it in the last moment every time they said it. So, again, like Lisa's asking him to explain and he's not. I read a thing once that was like, it was so true, because you get really annoyed at people in novels and stuff. It's like, why don't they just tell each other the truth? And a writer had put out, like, if you're trying to write tension like this, you just got to imagine that no matter what, they just can't tell it, like they physically can't tell each other what is going on. Which I thought was quite good advice, and also very true, because you're like, oh my god, just tell her. She knows what vampires are. Like, she knows.
Yes.
Just tell her that you got turned into a vampire, because at this point you think it's irreversible. And then also, if you show up again in a couple of days because Samuel hasn't managed to kill you, she knows that she probably needs to defend herself from a vampire. Like, give Lisa a heads up, man. I don't know.
Exactly.
Anyway, I just got a bit annoyed. Like, he's trying to protect her, but he should have, to protect her, he should just tell her, like, sorry, I'm a vampire. Like, I might try to eat you.
Yeah. Like, it was so dumb.
I don't know.
Why didn't he go out the same way that he came in, through the window? Like, come on. Come on.
Because she was awake and would have had to watch him climb awkwardly back out of that window. Like, bye.
So, he's a vampire.
Like Harvey from Sabrina.
Yeah. Oh, what a callback.
Oh. So yeah, there's a whole thing going on between them. You know, he's saying like, I'm gonna die, it's gonna be ugly, and like I don't want to drag you into it, and it's all very broody and sad. I'm kind of with Lisa on this, like, this is not on. Like, he's waking her up in the middle of the night to be like, stuff's tough, and she's like, yeah, okay, can we go back to sleep, and like, can you actually or tell me what's going on? Like, I feel like she's got an inappropriate amount of anger for like how annoyed I would be if my boyfriend woke me up in the middle of the night to tell me nothing. Like,
right, yeah, true. And not even like a normal way of waking you up. It's like literally she woke up because like she felt something in the room, like, right? It wasn't like he made a sound or anything.
Yeah, I feel like he's lucky he didn't get like a baseball bat to the face, like, you know.
Yeah.
So he eventually like can't stop himself, and he like kisses her against the wall. Oh no, he doesn't. He like nearly kisses her, because he's not actually going to kiss her. He's going to like eat her face or something. But he turns away to the camera, and like I do like this shot of like his fangs all coming out, where he's like, I'm gonna suck her blood, and he just leaves. Ben comes out of his room, so obviously he's heard all the hubbub, and like Dean pushes him out the way, which
he comes out the bathroom.
Oh, the bathroom, was it? I thought he was just like coming out of his room. Bad timing, Ben. What are you doing, kid?
I know.
I think him pushing Ben like that would have been enough for Lisa to not talk to him again, to be honest.
Yep.
Like, yeah. They're not good after this episode, and like, yeah, I can understand why.
Fair enough, yeah. Because he literally, instead of turning away, he could have just shown her his face. Yeah. She would have freaked out and been like, what the hell is going on? And then he could have been like, look, this is not a good situation. I need to go, clearly, because I'm about to eat your face.
Right.
And not in a good way.
Just tell her the truth, honestly. Or he could have phoned her and been like, look, I'm sorry, I'm a vampire now. Like, if I turn up at your house, just kill me. Again, warn! Ugh.
Yes,
sorry.
Exactly.
God, I get mad at these guys on this fictional TV show.
And their stupid decisions.
So yeah, back at the hotel room, Samuel's arrived, and he's like, "Let's sort stuff out. I'm here to help." He has that kind of vibe.
But he's also kind of angry at him as well, though, because he's like, "How you can't even look after your brother like what is?"
But it's funny because like Sam still never really had that side of the stick of like, why didn't you protect your brother? Like, it's always Dean who gets. So he's like, who, me? But I am the one who is protected. I'm the baby.
Yeah, the younger sibling vibes is strong with this one.
Maybe that was the whole thing. Like, him just being soulless and didn't understand. He's like, oh yeah, I'm just baby, so like I can't step in at this point. Anyway. So yeah, Sam was like, you know, Dean's not himself, like, he's a monster and he's hungry. You've got to be prepared to do the right thing. And then Dean walks in and he's like, I told you he'd kill me. Goodness sake.
Did you feed?
I went to say goodbye to Lisa. Which, for the record, is a lousy idea.
Dean, answer the question.
You can relax. I didn't drink anyone.
And then Dean like gets ready, like he takes off his jacket and is like, kill me. And Sam's like, no, it's fine, I'll just turn you back. He like throws that out well casually, and they both go, what? Including Sam. And I did write in my notes at this point, like, wait, Sam did all that and he didn't know?
Yeah, me too. Me too. I was like, did he actually want Samuel to kill him? Like, what? But then the thing is, I was also confused at why Sam asked Dean how he was feeling physically.
Yeah. He just wants to know.
Like, Sam's obsessed with that this entire episode.
He is. Because he's very focused on a goal. Okay, I did write a note which was for later on, but I feel like it applies to what we're talking about. I just wrote, Sam is using Dean as bait. Is soulless Sam just John Lol? Yeah. But yeah, because he's very determined about like all this alpha stuff or whatever that end goal is. So I guess he's ruthless in a way that Sam wouldn't be. So yeah, using Dean as bait to find out about all the stuff they know about vampires, and like ultimately we find out later to go after the alpha. It tracks with this single-mindedness that Sam is. I don't know. It's very. That's it. I feel like it's badly defined what being soulless is, but I guess it is just like having no feelings. You know, just none at all. Like not happy, not sad. Like just no feelings at all. Right.
It's just about accomplishing whatever you want to accomplish.
Yeah. Like,
no matter the means out. No, the goal outweighs the means.
Yeah, that's one. He's like, beep boop, I'm Sambot, must hunt.
Yeah. Program to hunt, to find alphas.
Yeah, exactly. And Samuel does like look at Sam like, what? Like you didn't know? Kind of thing. But it's brought up a little bit later. So Samuel's like, no, I'm going to save you, Dean. I will make this point. At no point during this episode does anyone mention at all about like maybe ringing Cass, you know, like angel friend. Like could he have, like, they were getting to the point they were like maybe going to behead Dean. Do you think maybe they should have been like, oh, we could try the angel before we behead him?
This is true. This is fair.
Does Sam...
Would his prayers work with Dean? Because obviously Cass is not really listening to Sam, right? At this moment.
Because of reasons.
So, because of reasons. I love that. But Dean is technically now a monster. Like, not a complete one, but he's like a baby one. And we know that Cass has issues with monsters as well.
I don't know, yeah.
So...
I don't know.
Would he come down?
I feel like he would come.
Yeah. Sorry.
So childish.
But I mean, we've run into this problem before though with Cass, right? Like he is the answer to too many questions that you would just never. Like, it's actually really important that we find out that you can cure vampires and stuff like that. So.
Exactly. And, like, also, it's not worth throwing in a line every episode, like, oh, we could call Cass, but this convoluted reason why we can't. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it would basically turn into House, where, like, oh, it could be lupus, and then it never is lupus. Like, that just becomes, like, a running joke.
That's true. Cass is lupus.
Yay.
Supernatural. That's a quote. I need that on a sticker. That makes no sense out of any kind of context. I just want it to say Castiel is the lupus of Supernatural. Anyway, yeah. So we see them all set around a table. Like Samuel gets out his manly hunter journal and like turns it around so they all can see.
Here's an old Campbell recipe, kind of like the soup. No one's tried it since God knows. From what I hear, stuff is a bad trip.
He's like, look, it's good, like, but it's on you. Like, if you drink, it won't work anymore. Like, not one drop of human blood. And Samuel says, like, do you actually get it? Like, do you get it? He's like trying to like drill it into him. So some of the stuff they need to get, they have already. But the hardest thing is that they need the blood of the vampire who turned Dean, which I feel like is a vampire trope, like classically. Is it not that like if you kill the vampire that turned you, in Dracula, isn't it?
It's in.
I feel like in Dracula, if they kill Dracula, all of his wives die. I feel like that's a thing. I don't know. It's been a very long time.
You know, so in Van Helsing,
Yes.
the movie was Hugh Jackman. That one, if they killed Dracula, all his children would die. Like his literal children, not like his vampire children.
Okay. Yeah, so I feel like that is a trope, because I'm sure I've seen that in multiple adaptations of Dracula. I don't know if it's in the original book though.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
So Sam's like, that guy was huge. He wasn't that big a guy. And Dean's just like, I can do it. And he's like starting to get ready, like putting on his jacket and stuff. And Sam's like, well, he's just going to walk right in. He's like, well, I'm one of them, aren't I? You know, all I got to do is get in there, get the guy alone, and shoot him with so much dead man's blood, he'll think he's rushing a fraternity. They offer to go with him, but Dean explains that he can like smell that they're humans, like a walking hamburger. And that it's fine as well. He knows where the nest is, even though they didn't previously, because he can again smell them, and he's almost like getting like pulled into them. So he takes the dead man. Samuel gives him the dead man's blood, and says to him like, good luck. So Dean leaves, and then as soon as he's gone, Samuel like turns on Sam and is like,
What the hell's wrong with you, Sam?
What do you mean?
You knew about the cure.
which I was like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like Sam immediately like gaslights Samuel. He's like,
That's
no,
never going to work though, because Samuel's like, he's got a locked mind.
yeah, it's under lock and key. Because Samuel says to him, like, we talked about it months ago, and Sam says, no, I didn't know. You must have talked to Christian or something.
That's strange, because if you had known, it'd be almost like you let him get turned. Get him in on the inside, help us find that alpha vamp we've been looking for.
And it takes Sam a minute to like process that and say, like, as if I'd do something like that. You know, what's wrong with you? It's very, I don't know. Yeah. I think Samuel's starting to realise something's up with Sam too.
Yep, definitely. I guess he wouldn't have seen it with his like distant relatives because they don't know each other, so they have no reason to like really protect each other.
Yeah.
But clearly, I mean, well, clearly, because Samuel only met Dean, right? In the past, they never went back together, because when they went back together, they met John and Mary after Samuel had died. So, like the family, he knows that the family vibe between the Winchesters is very, very strong, and that they, like, he must have heard and known about everything that was going on with them, and like how much they've sacrificed for each other. So for Sam to willingly risk his brother's life is very, very, very unusual.
And like, also like, just anybody. I don't think it even needs to be his brother. Like, I think it's just bad thing to do, full stop. I did write some other things like about Dean. So like the fact that he didn't feed on Lisa, like I do wonder if his willpower was better than someone else's because of all the time he spent in hell. Like he's used to being tortured.
True.
So this is kind of like, it's tough, but it's not being tortured in hell tough.
Yeah. There's definitely a level of self-control that like is not seen amongst the vampires anywhere. And I'm wondering if it's like, I mean, yeah, it's just everything that they've been through, right? Just everything. Like, it's just that puts up a fortress in your mind.
He's just very resilient to like mind-altering powers, I feel. I just think that's, it's one of those things. Anyway, that's the other thing I thought. So we do see Dean anyway come up to this vampire nest, and as he walks in, he bumps into Robert, who's like, "Sup?" So he immediately recognizes him as like, "Oh, you're the guy Boris turned. He said to look out for you, and like, glad you made it." And he goes to like fist bump him. I don't know. It's so weird.
It's funny because he's like, he's not actually a brooding man. He's just like a surfer dude.
He's just a bro, yeah. So, you know, he's like, "Oh, you must be starving." And he takes Dean to this like fridge full of blood bags, you know, from what they stole earlier, and chucks one over to him. And of course, Dean declines and says that he's...
I'm okay. I killed so many people on the way over here, so...
I'm so full. Oh my god.
Yeah, I like 10 people, man. So Robert's like, "Oh yeah, like the company line is we don't just kill people anymore, but you've got to tell me what that's like." And I did write, the little vamp, he hasn't killed anybody. I was like, so what's the kind of morality of killing him? Like, he's obviously, I feel like he's been turned, I don't know, it might not have been against his will, I'm not sure. But then he kept speaking, and I was like, "Oh no, it's fine. He's just a scumbag." So, you know, he takes him through and like drinks this blood as they walk through this warehouse place, and and they kind of like see more vampires, and he says, "Don't worry about them. They're jealous because the recruiters get to bang all the chicks, and that's you now, bro." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, fine." You can, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what else this is other than like, I don't know how else to describe this other than analogy for like sex trafficking, right? This whole like, it's a sex trafficking. Like, that's basically what the vampires are doing here, except they're like turning people as well. So he says like the big man will explain, meaning Boris. They kind of go into this, I don't know what this place is. It's like, it's got a
bank.
It's a bank, yeah. It's got like a stained glass ceiling and a big clock, which is set at like 8 minutes past 10, which felt significant, but like I couldn't think of anything. And then the kind of women that they've captured are locked in the bits of the bank you can't access, and they have like blood bags there to keep them going. You also see people like typing on computers, obviously like luring other people in, but it's like the women that have already been lured in, like luring other people in, essentially. But yeah, it's very like, it's organized, right? It's organized crime, which I think Dean wasn't expecting to see. You know, the fact they're using technology. I mean, they should have known kind of because they saw that girl's computer, but I guess the scale of it is unheard of for vampires.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it's actually Kristen who is typing into this computer, and she's obviously been turned as well, and she's not very happy about it, and Boris is like coaching her in how to reel someone else in. And he is super, like, I wrote he's if like Robert is a scumbag, like Boris is like king scumbag.
Yes.
Yeah. So he sees Dean and he's like, "Oh, thank goodness, I thought the hunter had chopped your pretty head." And Dean's like, "Oh, what's a hunter?" So he asks again if Dean's eaten. He's like, yeah, fine. And Boris says, "You'll need your strength." And like Dean's trying to get out of him what is going on here. And Boris like asks a really weird question. He's like, "How old do I look?" And Dean's clearly thinking higher than what he says, because he just says 33. I thought he was going to say like 40.
I was insulted.
Yeah. I
was insulted. This dude does not look 33. We do not look the same age as this man.
We do not.
He looks older than us.
He does. And he definitely is. I think he's trying to be nice. So Boris is actually like 600 years old, and he's like, "And this is the best time alive to be a vampire."
Dracula and Rice, please. These stupid little brats are so horny, they've reinvented us as Prince Charming with a Volvo.
Which I thought was a very good line.
It's because Edward drives a Volvo in the movie or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Like a really average car.
So he explains that what they're doing is like they're going out to get young women and bringing them back to be turned. And Dean says like, "What's with the cages?" And Boris says, "So that's they're compliant." Ugh, yuck. But eventually these girls will go out and fetch me boys like you, and then we go round and round and round. So presumably, if he didn't look up, he's expecting them to like turn on him because they're not being treated very well, essentially.
Yeah, or like they'll just go out into the world and start like just munching on people, and clearly they're not allowed to do that.
That's also true. It's because I think that when they're like baby vampires, they're like super hungry, right?
Yeah, it's uncontrollable. That's what was happening with the blonde girl from Buffy, which I can't remember her name.
Is it Hope from Buffy?
She was doing Hope. Yes. That sounds right. Yeah, so she was going around just like killing a whole bunch of people. Yeah, because she had no control.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so they're kind of like getting them in a level place. So Dean's like, I'm impressed. This whole system, like it's all just you, like this whole thing that's going on. And Boris is like, no, it's all our fathers. And he points to the ceiling and acts all reverential. So Dean tries to get that out of him, but like Boris is like, no. And then gets into his like bubble and says, "Oh, you want the private tour, don't you?" Again. And Dean is like, "I thought you'd never ask," playing into this like I am bait trope. I mean, it's gross. It's gross because of what happened earlier, and I don't like it. And I'm glad that Dean gets his revenge on this guy.
Yep. And I'm actually, like, as horrible as this sounds, I'm actually relieved that what happens in this episode to all the vampires in this, in this place.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah.
Yeah. It was, I mean, that's it. Like, they're building, like, a vampire kind of, like, underground for what? I can't remember how this alpha stuff plays out. I'm quite interested to see.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah, Boris, like, takes him away, and Dean obviously goes for him with the dead man's blood syringe, but a drop hits the floor, and, like, Boris hears it and turns around, and Boris very quickly again gets the upper hand over Dean. Luckily, I guess for him, like, they all suddenly pass out and have, like, a vision sent from the alpha, and it's super weird. It's like, there's some vampire girls. There's like, there's an idea of like a virus spreading. I feel they always show that kind of like cell stuff happening. Which presumably like spread the vampirism. I don't quite. Maybe the girls are supposed to be like make more children. I'm trying to like decipher their weird vampire things. I guess we kind of see where the alpha vampire is. I think that's supposed to be his house, maybe. I feel like that comes up later on.
Or his nest.
The nest, yeah. And then like blood and stuff as well. Lots of blood imagery. We do kind of see like the alpha vampire. It's like sort of just from behind. Like
no, we see his face.
It is his face because I'm like, that's Rick Worthy. I love Rick Worthy so much. Like, I'm sorry, but he's a great convention guest. They should have him at every convention because he's great. He's great.
Yeah, because he like strokes the face of one of the twins, and that's like show. Yeah.
So yeah, they have this whole vision. Dean has it too, and when he comes to, like, he looks originally like he's alone, but then it turns out that Boris has got up and released everyone from their cages to go after him. So Dean starts running and just an absolute slaughter of every vampire he comes across. The first vampire he kills is Robert, just immediately. And what's funny is, like, because they behead so many people in this episode, you're like, oh, their beheading technology is not quite as good as I remember it being at this point.
Yeah, definitely not. The thing I made a note of at this point when he finishes up, because he's got like the machete in his hand and like blood on his face, I was like, oh, he is having his own Blade moment at this
that's so
time.
True.
Because obviously Blade is like half a vampire.
Yeah. Oh man, I love those movies.
Me too.
I feel like this It's not the first, I guess it's not the first hint, but this is the closest hint we've seen of what Dean is like in Purgatory. Like, him beheading all these vampires is so Purgatory Dean. I was like, yes, I can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So yeah, this is what I was saying, that like he kills all of the girls, he kills everybody who was luring the girls. Like, it's obviously not ideal. Like, they probably would have liked to have saved everybody, but like, since Dean does know that you cannot feed to and be saved, that this is like the only thing they can do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's tough though, like, because they do know there are other ways for vampires to exist. Like, these vampires were feeding off of donated blood, and like Lenore and her friends were eating animals. But then I guess it's just like too many of them, and also Dean is a vampire at this point, so he's just like gone full bloodlust.
Yeah, and also I think there's the whole issue of like, he knows what the plan is.
Oh, that's
like
true.
If they're all getting their orders from this one person, who's to say that they can't disobey those orders?
Yeah.
And like, because that's what Boris was saying, like, no, I just implement them. But the new vampires, like, what are they going to do? Like, they won't have the nest there to like help them not go on a murder rampage. So there's really no other way out, unfortunately.
I guess with the alphas as well, like, I don't think they know how much like compulsion they have over the monsters, you know? Like, how much can they force them to do things? Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I do feel like it makes sense. It makes sense in the story for him to murder everyone at this point. Which is only a sentence you can really say while watching Supernatural.
Yeah. In no other show can you have like vampires be in a trafficking ring, but it's also okay to murder them all.
It's okay.
Like the victims and all.
It's not, the morals of I do feel like the morals around vampires and monsters in general are explored more in this season, but like not enough. Yeah.
Well, I guess because there's so much they have to kind of balance, right? I think we talked about it before, how they were really trying to do angels and monsters so that it would like satisfy the people who are tired of the angel stories and want to just go back to hunting. And, you know, a whole episode dedicating to chopping off vampire heads is pretty hunter specific. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm kind of interested with, like what the fillers of this season are going to look like, just because there is so much to do. Right? Like how do you fit in filler episodes into this? Obviously there are going to be some coming up. There must be.
We're due one, surely. Like, you know,
it's like very soon. So yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what they decide to do as a filler episode, really, because this definitely cannot be considered that. No. Maybe the beginning of this episode like kind of has a filler-ish feel, but all of this after like the mbop line,
basically,
it becomes very much plot heavy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. This is a plot episode, like, for 100%.
Yeah. So we're outside the nest, and Samuel and Sam have arrived in this massive van, and they hear like a noise, and suddenly a vampire like smashes through the window and tries to get at Samuel and Sam, and they fight him off, and we cut back to Dean, who's slowly making his way through all of the he's just making his way through the vampires there. I do feel like there was a line, and again, maybe I'm picking up lore from other movies, but like, or other vampire media, that like newborn vampires are like super strong.
I don't know.
Or is it the other way around in Supernatural, where the older ones are actually the stronger ones?
It is the other way around in Supernatural. That's why Boris is so strong in this, I think.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and it would make sense that I mean, the alpha would always be super strong. So, yeah, I keep coming back to Eve. I think this is all about Eve.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right.
So yeah, Dean's going through all those, and then it cuts back outside, and Sam's like decapitated the vampire that's there, and you see the head fall off the windscreen, but and the body like slowly fall off too. And Samuel's like, so much for undercover, and they go inside the nest, and they're walking through. Oh no, Sam says let's go, and then go back inside, and there's going to be a face off between Boris and Dean. And then it cuts back to Samuel and Sam as they go through and see the carnage that Dean has done, which is
a lot,
pretty horrific. Yeah. And Samuel says the line,
Looks like your brother has some Campbell in him after all.
I don't know what he means by that. Like, I mean, I know he said to Dean in that episode that like your ancestors were chopping heads off the Mayflower, whatever ship it was.
It felt very like in every generation a slayer is born.
Yeah, basically. And then it comes to Dean, and like Dean has his foot on Boris's decapitated head. And Dean's like, Sam's like, Dean, are you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. It then goes back to the motel room, and Samuel is injecting the blood of Boris into this jar of like stuff. And Samuel says, if this works, it's not going to be a kiddie ride. And Dean's like, okay, let's just get it over with. And obviously, like, Dean is being very overwhelmed at this point because he's just been like height of his bloodlust. He smelled blood of like in the blood bags and things like that. And he's got these two humans in front of him, and like he's not allowed to feed, and it's probably getting to him at this point because it's probably been a day.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a long time for a new baby vampire to not feed. Like it must be at its limit. Yeah.
Exactly. And but before Dean can drink, Sam's like trying to ask him a question of being like, so what did you see in there?
What?
In the nest, what'd you see?
Sam, I can't hear you. Your blood is so freaking loud, okay? Just back off. Give me the damn cure.
And he like chugs it, but like most of it like goes down his face. It's kind of gross. The thing that I did remember from this episode is him like turning to a bucket and like vomiting up like black blood.
Gross.
Because I feel like this happens a lot actually. Like
the goo, the black goo.
I feel like they turn. Doesn't that happen to Benny?
Oh, is there some black goo involved? There's black goo a lot. Like I can't remember. Yeah.
Maybe it's a cure of other things, but because they do start to cure people of like werewolf disease, whatever it is.
It's like the whole like demon thing as well. I don't know, but yeah, it's gross. There's a lot of like vomiting black stuff though in Supernatural generally.
Yeah, very true. Sam asks if it's working, and Sam is like, well, Samuel is like, either that or he's dying.
And that's why Sam wanted him to tell him all the information before he drank the antidote, because he was like, this might kill him. Better try and get my information now.
That's very true. I didn't think of it about it that way. Huh. So Dean continues to like vomit up like blood. Whatever.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell because it's so dark. But then also, like, I had a thought that the black goo is very much like closely tied to monsters, right? Like generally the idea of monsters. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's black goo.
Mm-hmm. And his eyes are all like bloodshot, and his face is kind of turning a little bit blue, and it's all very traumatic and like, oh, Dean's gonna die. He then like crawls up into the fetal position on the floor and just like in pain. And like he's got all these like flashbacks of what happened. Like everything that he has experienced is being shown in reverse. So like him decapitating Boris, and then the dead man's blood, and Boris in his face, and then pushing Ben into the wall, and seeing Lisa in the room, and all this kind of stuff. And then it gets to the point where Boris is giving him the blood that turned him into a vampire, and he can see Sam's face and see Sam smirking at him and seeing that he was stood there the entire time that this happened and didn't help.
I was about, ooh!
Yeah, I was just like, oh, got caught, got found out. Bad boy.
Yeah, it was tough. So he's fine, obviously. Dean didn't die. And Sam is still quizzing him on what he saw. And Dean seems just really reluctant to tell him. He's like, I'm working through it, like, leave me alone, you know? But he did say about, you know, they're getting their orders from somewhere, like they're alpha, they've got a psychic thing going on, and says that they're going on a recruitment drive. Like, Sam and Samuel both look at this and are like, oh, you know, that's not great.
This is not the worst.
Then what is?
We don't scare them anymore.
I guess, I mean, like, vampires have been kind of... Because, we're going to ask about this. Vampires were, in John Winchester's words, driven to extinction by hunters.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I guess they are rebuilding their numbers after that has happened because their alpha is ordering them to. And because they were nearly driven to extinction, they were scared of hunters, and now they are not anymore. It all kind of makes sense. It does. Yeah.
And I mean, they did get rid of one of their biggest vampire hunters in Gordon.
That's true. Yeah, he was definitely part of that. Yeah. And like I bet a lot of the hunters got taken out during the apocalypse as well. Like,
I can see
surely
that.
their numbers are also depleted, but yeah. So yeah, they all pack up and then they go to a parking lot behind the hotel, and I swear this is the same place they found the entrance to the underground crypt in the episode with Joe and the ghost of H.H. Holmes. What's the episode called? You know the one I mean.
Oh, yeah, I do know the one.
But I swear this is the same parking lot. Like, my brain was like, that's the same place.
See, I thought it was the same place where they had that, like, where Sam had his little dance-off blade off with his demon friend.
Oh, I want to say Brandon, but I feel like I'm wrong.
It was one of those, like,
Brady!
Chad.
It was
Brady!
Brady? I feel like it's Brady.
One of those very generic American names.
His name was Brr. Yeah.
His name was Brr.
See, I feel like they're definitely used this place before. I've seen it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So Dean is they're doing the like thing where they're stood next to the car doing stuff, and Dean is leaving Lisa a voicemail, kind of in like a mirror to the beginning when he was really happy to talk to her. Now he can't get through, like she's screening his calls or whatever. Because Sam says, "How's it go?" And he's like, "It didn't." And Sam doesn't really say much. Later says, like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So I guess at the moment it's over between Lisa and Dean. I can't remember how this resolves itself. It'll be fine. If it's not fine, but I mean, it'll be fine.
It's probably she gets in danger, right? And he has to go save her.
100%.
Let's be real.
So Dean says,
At least, you got my back. No matter what happens, I can always count on you, right, Sammy?
I mean, it's so, like, if it wasn't about, like, him protecting your life, it would be so petty. And then Sam just says, "Of course, Dean." And then they just get in the car and, like, that's it. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I did put, like, at the end of this episode, Dean kind of he has nothing left. Like, Lisa has presumably left him because he was acting like a crazy person, being a vampire. And now he doesn't think he has Sam either. So, like, what does Dean have? Yeah. That's pretty sad.
Like, this is a worst case scenario for
it
Dean,
really is,
right?
yeah.
Like, he's always wanted family, and then he gets back into hunting, and all of his family is gone. And I mean, that's literally what everybody was saying. Like, Bobby was saying to him before he joined back in of like, well, you had a family, you had all of this, and like we wanted to keep you out, and like this is the consequences of your choice. And it's just like, it's not there really wasn't his choice, because as I think we talked about in that episode, more than likely Sam drew the gin to Dean.
And like, it really bothers me how in that episode they kind of frame his return to hunting as like this triumphant return, like the music, the car, the jacket. Like, it's not. We should be sad that Dean is returning to hunting. It should feel like a loss. And they're like, no, yeah, guys, he's back on the road where he belongs. You're like, no.
No.
I don't know. But yeah. As this episode, I super enjoyed it. I really liked it. I like this one. I think it says a lot. I like the lore about vampires. I like the way they framed it, even though it's like a bit super creepy. I think it's an interesting way to frame it. And we learn a lot about Sam and a lot about Dean and a lot about monsters.
Yep. And like as the episodes go on, like Sam's behavior is getting worse and worse and worse, and like more concerning as these episodes go. And it's really interesting to see. And like, I do feel like it's kind of coming up to the point where we learn that he's soulless.
Yeah, I can't remember when we find out.
It might be the next episode, because the next episode's called You Can't Handle the Truth. And like, do you remember we went through like coming soon in one of the previous episodes? And it was Dean gets cursed to tell the truth. All the people around him have to tell the truth. So I'm thinking that's probably this episode, just by its name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So I'm fairly certain something's going to come up with this one. And I'm hoping that Cass is in it. I haven't looked at who's in it, because that would be really funny, because that would probably reveal the thing that why he's not been around Sam for the past year.
So Cass is, but I feel like you're going to be disappointed. Like,
yeah, probably.
Like, yeah.
Oh, dang it. Anyway.
I don't remember much about the next episode, to be fair, at all. Like, I'm actually reading the synopsis as we're speaking. I'm like, I don't remember any of this. So yeah.
I did kind of recognize it from that like coming soon section. Like, it did feel kind of familiar. And I am actually realizing that I think I started to pay more attention in season 6, because as much as I don't truly remember much of season 6 in terms of story and what happens, these episodes feel way more familiar to me than like say season 2 did when we did the rewatch. Yeah. I agree with you, I think, as well. Like, I don't know. I feel like because you got to know the characters by this point a bit more. I don't know. But I agree, because a lot of this is also coming back to me as we're watching it, which is quite nice. That's why I'm enjoying the rewatch, because I'm trying not to look too far ahead. But like, yeah, next episode, I don't know. I have no idea. And also these are much closer in time too. Like, this is from 2010. Like, that's definitely more of a time that I remember sitting down and watching Supernatural.
Yeah, that was my like second year uni, like the ultimate slack off period of your life, right?
Oh yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Actually, mine was the last year, which is like the worst year to do it. But anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
it's
all fine. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it though.
Me too.
I guess I got one more thing to say about this episode and about vampires, in that, and because I mentioned at the beginning and then I didn't say it during the episode, is that I thought about Benny during this, and I do wonder, because I'm really interested to see how Dean responds to vampires after this incident. And I wonder if one of the reasons why him and Benny get so close as friends is because he has a better understanding of him now. Like, Benny was also like in love with someone, right, as well, when he became a vampire. And like, obviously Dean had the whole thing with Lisa and being a vampire, and was generally understanding how hard it is. So I'm interested to see if he's as discriminatory towards them still after this episode.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to watch out.
We're not going to talk about season 15 because it undid all character development, so we don't need to worry about that. But from here till then, I do wonder if he's maybe a bit more sympathetic. I'm not sure. I'm going to say probably not, because I don't like to remember that character growth happened in Supernatural.
Well, I mean, the friendship between, well, we say friendship, we know it was more than friendship. The friendship between Benny and Dean is already beyond comprehension at this point anyway, just because it, like, they've never really been friends with a monster.
Yeah, not really. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they've let some of them go, like Tara's group. But really, like, they see a monster, they kill a monster. Yeah. Like, so the fact that he could even make a friend. But, I mean, well, that was the thing with Purgatory, though. Like, you couldn't have friends. Like, alliances broke all the time.
So, yeah, I'm just interested. I just thought this may be one of the reasons why him and Benny get on all right, you know? And I kind of understands him a bit. And ultimately does what he does for him at the end. Sad times. I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there. I love season 8 so much.
We're not even that far yet.
We're not far. Like, I can see the storyline lining up to season 8 and I'm getting real excited. Like, I know how we're getting there. Like, and that's like, yeah, it's good. I don't remember all the twists and turns, but like the main bits, I'm like, I know how we're getting to season 8.
Yeah, but we have to get through season 7.
I feel like it's not as bad as we remember it. I feel like season 9 is worse. I might eat my words, but I feel like I flip-flopped on this, and I, like, thinking back, I think season 9 is worse than season 7.
So I think the only way that I could get through season 7 is the fact that I do have 12-year-old boy humor, and I think dick jokes are funny, and the entire thing is just set up for a dick joke. So yeah.
It's just one long dick joke.
Oh, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about this episode. I do have a new appreciation for it. Yeah. I will say that. As I usually do, actually, through like talking about it. So I'm glad that we could do it. So yeah, that's kind of it. So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel of Gore for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to purchase it on something, you can find it on our Redbubble store. And if you want to come talk to us about how you also had a dead journal back in the past, come talk to us on any social medias that are now present. We're on Tumblr, which is why, let's be real, like after Dead Journal, we will jump to Tumblr.
Yeah. Come on.
Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as Escaping Purgatory Podcast. And on Twitter, it's just Escaping Podcast. So yeah, come say hi.
So this week, we sharpened our eyeliner and we put on our new rocks and our vampire fangs, and we got busy down in the club. I hate that. I'm keeping it. So next week, hopefully, we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye. That was amazing.
Oh.